Before I start, I would just like to mention that this is the first time that I've ever done a video like this. So, and I also don't have any video editing software. So, there might be a few awkward moments like this. But anyway, let's talk about the Blob. The Blob is this video game. It was released on the Wii in 2008, and then it got a sequel in 2011, which released on the Wii, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3. Both the games are pretty similar. The music is like the music of the first game is very jazzy. The second one, it goes into it's still got jazz, but it leans a little bit more into rock in some places and expands on some other genres as well. What you're hearing right now is Radiant Day from the first game. But really, it's not from the first game. It's from the soundtrack of the first game. Because you see, both games got soundtrack releases that had some of the music in the games, but not anywhere close to all of it. The majority of the music in the game is mono, aside from a few rare situations, but for the most part, it's in mono. But what you're hearing right now is stereo because, well, for the soundtrack, all the tracks that were put on there were edited a little. The mixing was changed a little bit so that it could be stereo. And I mean, let me stop this real quick. So that was called Radiant Day, but in-game it's called Unstoppable. And I'll play them both side by side and switch between them. So this is the in-game one. And the soundtrack version. You can hear it's different. So I think that the soundtrack versions are a lot nicer to listen to, but certainly it's important that the in-game mixes are preserved too, especially because of how the music works in the game. Because it takes on a bit of a rare concept that it's used a lot in place, but this game uses interactive music, a lot of stream switching and stuff, and it kind of takes it to the next level, because not only does it have different intensities, so if we pull up the same track, got the highest intensity, sound like that. Then you also get the low intensity. And so it's just the same piece of music in halftime, and it's mostly just much simpler. You don't get any crazy melody. This one's a little bit unique because it still has the horns from the high intensity, like there. You can hear it. It's there in both of them. I don't really know why. That's an interesting thing, I guess. And then there's also an even lower intensity that only shows up sometimes. It's called the inked intensity. It takes a lot. Most of the inked tracks, they kind of have this. It's kind of weird saying it's usually got I think it's a high pass filter is what it's called. Let me make sure on that. No, it's called a low pass filter. No, it's a low pass filter so that some higher frequencies are removed. No, I'm pretty sure that's mostly applied as like an in-game effect, but in some tracks especially you can tell it's got it there. But what it does, it kind of takes some stems from the low intensity, like you can hear that. It's like. But I don't know. Sometimes it takes some bits from the high intensity and some weird spots, but for the most part, it's based on the low intensity. There isn't usually a lot of unique things made for the inked intensity. I should explain what that means. In game, the game. You play as like this blob of paint, and you're supposed to paint stuff because there were these evil guys called the Inked Corporation that came from space, or under the leader Comrade Black, and this guy hates color, and so he just kind of sucked the color out of out of the world. This planet Radia, and so it's Blob's duty to lead the color revolution and bring back color. So the Ink Corporation is just like these guys who are made out of ink, and so there can be ink puddles around, or if they hit you, you get ink all over you, and that starts damaging you, and then it switches to this inked intensity of the track. And there's a few weird places where there's a few weird situations where there is actually some unique stuff. I think it might have been like a weird mistake in some cases. I can go over those cases later, but for the most part, it takes stems from the low intensity, and then it just applies some weird effects to them, and also puts some sound effects over it sometimes. Anyway, it doesn't stop there in the interactivity though. Because you see, there's these three intensities. They sound like this when they're all played together. I don't know why I did that. But these intensity, aside from the inked one, have have layers of their own. So if we pull up the low intensity, or if we talk about the low intensity again, so you got this, you can hear. You got this. You can have the if you hear this, the guitar. And without the guitar. And so there's only two stems. Sometimes, well, there's one track where the low intensity is 3, but I'll get to that later. But for most of the majority of the time, it's just 2 stems for the low intensity and then 3 for the high intensity. If we got a high intensity. Wait, sorry, I didn't adjust the volume. Hold on. Pretty neat, right? And here, let me pull up what this looks like real quick. So I probably should have done that sooner. So here I am in Audacity, and you can see I got the low intensity here. I don't know what that is. Hold on. I didn't notice that before. Okay, that's funny. I didn't notice that before. Hold on. Usually that stuff is cut out of the stem. You can hear like there's silence added in between the parts where there's sound. That's funny. Okay, anyway. So you got the guitar here. You got without the guitar. And then with both. So that makes the entire piece of music. But what the game can do is, what it does is it starts here, and then it starts with just the stem, and then it goes here. And then it pulls up this stem. And then it mutes this one and it pulls up this. So you still got the guitar here. And then finally mute this and you get this. And so that's, and then nothing, and then the ink intensity. Back up again. It doesn't have any stems, it's just its own thing. And as soon as you get ink, full stop, everything goes away, and it just, alright, wait, sorry. Full stop, everything goes away. And it's just, well, like this. Just to kind of add a little bit of stress to, like, all of the work that you put into building up the music goes away, and it's a little creepy sounding, I guess. Like, this one isn't exactly the best example of how it can sound, but it can sound a little weird sometimes. What? Sorry. Why don't I go on to another track? Next track I'll go over is called Splashback on the soundtrack. Or, I'm sorry, I don't have the names memorized that well. Defiant. I should know that. So let me pull up the sound so we can do a comparison first. That's the soundtrack one. Turn that down a little bit. You can see it's stereo in the in-game. Grab Defiant. It's mono. And you might notice that, and that probably looks a little weird. I'll explain that in a little bit too. So, you got these two things. A little bit of silence because it comes from a CD. But, sorry. It's just not very fair. Like that. So you can hear the difference there. And then we get rid of this. We pull in the low intensity and the inked one. This is actually exactly what I was talking about too, but there being some unique stuff in the inks. So here, first, I don't know why it's doing it there. Kind of laid back. It's like the super hard drum beat. Now, the thing about the inked track is that it has the same drums, but then it also has this like underlying kick to it that it gets it back to the tempo of like, this is like, I don't know what the tempo is, but then this is in halftime, and then it gets. So it feels a little more intense. You can hear that low pass filter there. But the thing about this too is that this inked track, and I don't know why, but it has this unique guitar, and it's not super obvious at first, so you can even hear it from here. Oh, not that. Yeah. It's just that guitar. Like here. That's weird, but that's not super obvious at first until it goes into this solo. Listen to this. Here. Pretty sure it's here. So listen here. I'll play the whole stretch of it first. So this is what the low intensity sounds like. Okay. And now here's what the inked intensity sounds like. And here you hear this whole different guitar part on top of it. And it doesn't come from the high intensity. It's completely unique. Just listen. And so that's it. And you continue to hear like the guitar. That's just that. I don't think that. Yeah. I never actually did a real comparison of this before, but I knew that guitar solo was weird. But I didn't realize that the guitar covered the entire. But anyway, what's also interesting about this whole track, but also this applies to the inked track too, is that it loops once. And this isn't a pointless loop. It might sound like it, but at first. But let me just grab this real quick. Okay. It's not actually, but that's. And let me bring it up here. Actually, hold on. Just so I have that. Let me just bring it to the top. Okay. And then back down. And let me line this up first. Like this. Yep. I think. Yeah. So. The track is completely the same the second time around, except for one thing. So if I invert it, you're gonna hear, oh. What? Wait a minute. Why is? Okay. Well, there's some sound because of for some reason to me that organ's kind of sticking out a little bit. I don't know why. But okay, but that's not what I'm talking about. I will look at that later, but you're gonna see that there's wait, hold on, let me bring these back to normal volume, and let me cut this off for now. You're gonna see something weird is happening there. I don't know. I don't think I lined it up completely properly. No. Okay, here. Well, let me just look at this. No, I did. Okay. Well, there's just I don't. Well, that's just the compression that's causing that. I'm sure that's not it. What I'm trying to talk about, it's here. It's this part right here, because I don't know, but it's right here. And what I was trying to show with that is kind of pointless now since there's so much. But listen to this solo, the synth solo, right here. So this is the first time around, and it's also the one that shows up on the soundtrack. Just listen to this. Okay. And actually, on the soundtrack, I should add the synth sound a little bit different. I think that might be actually an electric guitar. I don't know. But now listen to this is the second time around the second loop that's here. Listen to the solo this time. It's completely different. I hope you were able to tell, but yeah, it's the solo is completely different, and I think somewhere in an interview, John Guscott said that they did that just like to make it. I can just pull up the interview. It was on a website called Original Sound Version. And so yeah, okay, hold on. Let me find where it says this. I'm not. Okay, well, I was just gonna say the actual quote. But. And this isn't really a unique thing to Blob either, because I've heard it in other games. But pretty much. I don't know why I can't find it. It's not. But, like, he said that. They just kind of did it so that the solo. They could have two solos baked into the track so that there was a little more uniqueness to the music, because that was kind of the whole thing that he was aiming to. So you have all the streams changing so that the music is constantly changing as you play for certain things. And there's a lot of musical sound effects that go into the music too, that are unique for each track. Alright. But then for two of the tracks, they did this. It was this track and another track called Fearless, where they did the same thing. So there's just two solos, and it just plays the second time. But what's unique about Defiant compared to Fearless is that, yes, they both have the different solo, but also the Inked track is different the second time around. And that's kind of weird. And it's not. I never actually did a deep look into what's so. I just remember the start sounds different. So this isn't lined up properly. This is where it starts. So listen, you got this. So you can already see like that's missing. So listen to how it sounds there. It already sounds different. And what might be different is the guitar might be missing. That might be it. I don't hear it. Yeah, okay. So that was kind of what I was saying before, was that I kind of thought that there might have just been a mistake. There might have just been a mistake in the mixing process that just caused the guitar to be removed, because I feel like this guitar was intended to be in the high intensity, but then it just got left out for whatever reason. And maybe it wasn't intentional, like they just wanted to have something unique for the inked intensity. John Guscott did, the composer, not they. It might have been an intentional decision by him to have something unique for this one inked track, but I don't know. I mean, I could ask him about it. You may have seen around my channel before, I've gotten some stuff from him, like the original cutscene, most of the original cutscene music for Blob 1, and some original demos. And I've also asked him some questions about the music. I never asked about this because I think that was a couple years ago now. And I've learned so much about the music in that time. But yeah. So I don't know what's up with that. There's also like, it's not just the guitar that's different, because this is here in the low intensity. It's just not here. It's like it just starts there. Oh, that's weird. Huh. Oh, I think okay, it's supposed to be lined up like that, sorry. But still. Same thing. Still applies. Anyway, let's talk about the sound effects now. I feel like there was somewhere I was kind of working on something where I was trying to put all the sound effects over a track, and that would be great to have here, but I might not have it with me anymore. But that would be great. I might not have it. No. Okay. So I'll pull up another track that we haven't looked at yet. So here, I'm gonna pull up the first piece of music you hear in a level in the game. And I'm only gonna look at the high intensity of this. So this is Blissful. It's arguably the most popular track in the game, because it's for the first level, and a lot of people remember the low intensity release, but we're just gonna look at this. So there's this, and this track, like every track, has a ton of sound effects made for it. So in the game, as you're painting as Blob, like I say, the whole thing is about painting. There's different sound effects that play for each color that you paint as. So blue, when you paint as blue, it's just this nice guitar, and there's tons of these sound effects, but here's just one. It's called guitar A flat major. I should probably figure out what the No, I know what I can do. Hold on. Hold on. There's something I can look at. Someone made sheet music of a lot of the tracks. So I'm gonna just look at that to figure out what the chord is. Here we go. Okay, F sharp sus. That's what it is. So here, like I'm gonna edit some of the sound effects over this, just to show off what it kind of sounds like. You know what I mean? So hold on. Okay, here we go. That doesn't make sense. Hold on. No, okay. Oh, I see what's up. I see what's up. Okay. Actually, there's a thing that how it works in the game is that it's able to tell when the measure ends. So if we put it like this, let me drop that there. That was not the end of the measure. And then I'm going to go to I'm going to go to green. Yeah. No, that doesn't. Actually, I kind of want to see what it sounds like. So this is all these sound effects, and there's so many of them, but so the next chord is E set. Wait. Okay, here we go. All these sound effects are completely randomized in game. Like you paint something as green, and depending on where the chord progression is, then it just chooses one. So that in that sense, it's not completely randomized because it still pays attention to like when the measure begins and the chord, what chord the track is on right now, but. So the next one is B. So here's one from the color orange. Now let me grab one more. So that's a trumpet, because like, and that is in the files they're actually named like that. Here's the color red, and there wasn't any like real reason behind the what instrument was used for what color. Not any that was said. I think in that same interview they said that they were trying to see if there was some sort of correlation behind sound and color, and there was something that some people heard, but it's unique for everybody, so there wasn't one thing that sounded like one color for everybody. And so because of that, there is some consistency between what colors, what instrument, and all the tracks, but there are some cases where the colors for each instrument get switched around. Anyway, here's red. Here's red. That's a nice vocal one. This is usually the first color you become. Here, I'll do a little bit of layering here. Like this. Hold on, is this? Here we go. And then also just in the track there's some vocals too. I'm pretty sure it's the same women who are singing it. I was gonna say voice actresses. I don't know. The same singers. Same singers. So anyway, that just here. I'll play what I edited together, like this. Oh, here, like this. And so that's kind of what it would sound like while you're playing the game, I guess. You know, you're switching between all these colors, and so you hear all these sound effects that play and stuff. So it really adds to the, actually, hold on, I shouldn't have deleted all those, because there's also more sound effects than just for painting. There's sound effects for doing all sorts of stuff. Like, that's just the color sounds, and a lot of stings. Like when you paint a billboard for example. Here we go. I'll throw this in there. Sometimes the sound effects can be stereo, sometimes they aren't. It's just kind of random. There's also a, oh yeah, there's this too. Here, I'll throw this in a little bit later. Here, listen to this. And so what that is there's like these landmarks throughout the levels, and when you're transforming them, this is why it's called shaker loop. You're supposed to shake the Wii remote and the nunchuck to transform it, and so you get like the first landmark is like, I think it takes like 30 red paint points. 30 red paint points. And so you target the weak point on it. It's like this radio tower thing. Not like radio broadcasting place. So it has a big antenna on top of it. And so you target that, and then Blob goes inside of it, and then you shake the Wii remote and nunchuck as fast as you can, and this plays while you're shaking. So it's just... And right after that, then you hear this sound. So that'll actually sound nice. And there's just one. There aren't a ton to fit every single chord. There's also these weird stings. Well, not stings. These weird sound effects. Because there's citizens of this place, and they get the color drained out of them too. But you can roll over them or just like target them, and then you add the color back. And then there's these sound effects that play. I'm gonna stick a Bleed B major. Hold on, let me finish this off. Yeah, where's the E? Ooh, that's weird. There are none for E. Wow, I don't know why that is. Right, that's E major. There's the one here. There's also some weird stuff like that about the sound effects, but I don't know. There's also these pattern pickups. There's only 2 different ones for this one. That's not true. There's 3. One of them doesn't have a chord name, so I'm just gonna throw it in there on top of. Actually, I'll just do this. Just. See, that's like the chords from later. Yeah, so what happens if I drop that there? I guess it does sound okay. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe it's like I should know this. I know I should. But then anyway, finally, if we jump to the end of the track, there's these level completes, and they aren't like really meant to be ends of the track, but they can sound like they're an end of a track because obviously when you're listening, it cuts off to loop. That one does, like, it's not a hard cut off, but some of them are. That play, it says combo complete. I that makes me think that originally this is supposed to play when you get combos of painting buildings, but then they just switch them to be the level complete, because some of the sound effects are called level complete. Not all of them. Not all of them. Look at this one. That's for Unstoppable, the first track we looked at. That's called level complete. Is Defiant called level complete? Let's see. Is it called level complete? Ooh, that's... Hold on. This one's called Challenge Complete. I'm pretty sure. No, that's a different sound effect. Some of them have like Challenge Complete sound effects. Not all of them do. Oh, here we go. You see, that one's stereo. And that's weird. Why is it stereo and this one isn't? You hear how it's like the same. That's like the level completes are kind of the only thing I have a sort of leitmotif, or not a leitmotif, just a motif in them. Because a lot of them actually use the that's not alright. A lot of them use the kind of big climax that's in. This one doesn't. Okay, what am I trying to say? There in the title screen music, there's like this one big part that it builds up to. Let me pull it up. Looks weird, right? Let me search that out. It's this. It's right here. And that's the thing. That gets referenced in some of the stings. And it also gets what I was just humming was actually the opening cutscene music, which John Guscott didn't share, but I used a program to remove the sound effects. It references Blissful here, and then it starts building up with it sounding like Blissful, and then it goes to the title screen reference. Specifically, I was actually referencing the bass I had an isolation of it somewhere. It's this. Again, that's not a real stem. That's an artificial split of the stem. So, anyway, that's kind of irrelevant though. Like that's not the. I love the. I don't want to say the cutscene music is irrelevant. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying the title screen music is irrelevant or that stuff is irrelevant because it's not. It's very important and it's very good music. It's just it's not the core part of the game I'm talking about. Anyway. Up next, I'm going to talk about Blob 2. And Blob 2 kind of follows the same thing. It got a soundtrack release with some of the tracks edited to be stereo. And the sound effects, like one big thing about the sound effects is it has the color sound and all that. They don't have level completes. Well, they do, actually, but they're unused. And they're actually, it's kind of weird. But some of them ended up in the files, but there were some that actually got leaked. There was this prototype of Blob 2 that got out, and it had all sorts of weird music content. There are like early demos in there. I assume it's like early demos because they kind of sounded like the demos that John Guscott sent me in some spots. But there were also some weird sound effects that were in there, including some level completes that were never heard before. And then also the shaker thing. So like here, let me just, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let me introduce you to the first track that shows up in a level in Blob 2, and it's called Tranquil, and it sounds a little bit like Blissful. Actually, I'll show you the soundtrack. Let me go through the whole thing. So it's called Paradise Island, and that's the name of the level. Actually, it's kind of weird. So this is the soundtrack version of this. Hold on, let me turn this down a little bit. Well, okay. I forgot about the silence there. Let's listen. So again, it's the same thing. There's actually like a weird compositional change in this. That's actually just at the end. And it's just with the I don't remember what it has a name. Quika, I think, is called it. Sounds like this. Someone sent I'm in a Blob Discord server, and someone sent an example of it, of what it was, and I didn't know what it was called, but I knew what it was. So anyway, it's right here. You can hear it. It was at the start of the track. In game, well, on the soundtrack, you can hear it show up again. Yes, that's my Quika impression. Thank you. I know it was very good, but in game, it's not there. all. Anyway, that's the biggest difference, other than it being in stereo. So, what was I? Oh yeah. Okay, so this is Tranquil. Okay. It has sound effects like the other tracks I was showing you. It has 2 unused sound effects. That's these. That's the level complete, never used. And then this is the shaker loop, like for transform. There are landmarks that you transform, but it's nothing like what it was in Blob 1, because when you transform a landmark in Blob 2, you do still like go into its weak point and use paint points to enter it. But what happens is then it sends you into this new tiny little area. It's like a 2D section that you have to go through, and you have to hit switches to transform the landmark. And it's an interesting concept, but then it just completely removed this from having a purpose. Stop that from having a purpose. And that's basically it. And then there's another track. Now I can start talking about some other stuff, right? So that's that. Okay, let's stop for a second. So that is the main part of the Blob. That's kind of what brings the music to life for the most part. And it's that, excuse me, it's that interactivity that really brings the game to life. Please listen to the soundtrack. It's very good. And anyway, now maybe you already have listened to the music and you were just curious about how the music works. Let me introduce you to some new stuff that you may have never heard. Starting with Blob 1 again, there's some unused music that's in the game. And the stuff that I told you I've emailed John Guscott. Well, I didn't say, but I have contacted him through email. That is true. And I've asked him about the unused music in the games. And there isn't as much for Blob 1 as there is for Blob 2. That's ended up in the files and stuff. But there's this track called Demo. It doesn't really have a lot to it. And there's also some really weird stuff about it. Which like there's a few different versions of it, kind of. Well, no, there's only 2 different versions because it has 2 different high intensities. Okay, look. These are both, so it has 3 high intensity stems. But all 3 aren't supposed to go together. This is the first one, and it's exactly the same as this one. And this has everything else, but it just has this guitar and record scratching. You can also see it's very low quality. 1050 hertz. Which is also kind of shows how So that was just kind of weird. And that is also, if I pull up, there's just this video. This isn't it's actually from IGN, but let me pull up this video. This isn't. Hold on a second. Hold on. Okay. Let me switch this window so you can see this. So this is like some early footage. I'm pretty sure it comes from IGN. And this is like a prototype of Blob. And you can hear, and this will also kind of give you a look, like a video look at how the music works too, because this track has sound effects just like all the other tracks too. But here you can hear how this works and see how this works. And this has the demo track I just played in. So that's the low intensity of the track. I didn't show that. Later it shows off So you can hear how like it's just got the big. That leads me to believe that this version without the guitar is kind of the intended one, or the original one, and then the guitar got added much later. And so I'm gonna stop now. So yeah, that's how that looks. And so I asked John Guscott about it, and he said that it was never meant to be used. It was literally just he was testing how the music system would work, and he didn't really care what the music sounded like. He just needed there to be music for it to work with. And that is, especially, he was actually talking about Blob 2 specifically, because I asked him about just kind of unused music. And then right after, he talked about a track in Blob 2 that was kind of weird. The high intensity, I didn't even realize this until much later. I just randomly heard it. I was like, oh my goodness, I know that. And so it's this track called Inky. Only in the files of Blob. Only in the files of Blob 2 on Wii for some reason. So that this is actually a classical track. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I wrote it somewhere. Oh, I know where I wrote it. Okay, it's called Brandenburg Concerto No. 3 in G major by Bach. I probably said most of that wrong, but that's what it is. But the low intensity is what he was talking about. And he said right after he's talked about, like, he didn't really care what the music sounded like. He just cared that there was music to test with. And he talked about this. He said he was looking through his archives and he found this track. It had this Inky screaming over it. And it's just really weird. And so I'm pretty sure he was referring to this. This is the low intensity of Inky, which I'm pretty sure is an original piece of music. But just listen to this. So it's just specifically, I'm pretty sure, because I'm pretty sure that Inkies, which are like the real enemies, have a different voice actor than Comrade Black does, and I'm pretty sure that's specifically Comrade Black. But that was just, it's a weird piece of music, and it's clear. What do you think about it? It's just like, where would that ever be used? Right? So it's just, it got left in there, and it's kind of funny that it did. But another interesting, let's go back to D-Blob 1, okay? And I asked John Guscott about this too, and I'm pretty sure this is the only music that was ever intended to be used in game that didn't get used. And so what this is that in D-Blob 2, the title screen music is actually interactive. Yeah, that's it. But in D-Blob 1, it's not. However, in the files of D-Blob 2, there was actually these two tracks, which were just left in there. So here's what the title screen music looks like, or sounds like. And then there are these two tracks that are like lower intensities of them, and it sounds just like how the title screen music interactivity works. So it's just like this. So like this guitar, and I'm pretty sure that this guitar, like the guitar that's on the side of I'm pretty sure that was originally supposed to be a part of the high intensity, and the only reason I think that is because it shows up in the opening cutscene rendition of the track, and it also shows up in the original demo. And I'm just gonna pull that up real quick. Here's the original demo. You can just hear it there. So it just got cut for some reason. I want to ask him about that too, someday. But I did ask him about these two tracks, and here's the low intensity too. It's a very, I really like this intensity. It's kind of the way John Guscott said. When I showed him this, he said, "Hey, it's kind of fun." like he hadn't heard it before. But of course he has heard it before. He made it, but it's just been so long that he didn't even remember this stuff. But what he came to the conclusion was that these were demos of these ideas he had for the lower intensities of the track, and they never actually got made into full pieces of music. So I guess that means that the menu was originally supposed to work like how D-Blob 2 did, but then they just scrapped the idea and then eventually used it for D-Blob 2. And so specifically, I think it's right here. Well, like listen to this guitar solo. It's really cool. To me, that doesn't sound like it's synth. I could be wrong, and it could also just be like for his demos he recorded the guitar live. But either way, I think that sounds really good, and it's a shame that they got scrapped. But my point in saying was these are the only two pieces of music that were ever actually intended to be used that didn't get used. Now there is one more piece of music. It's unused in the Blob 2. There's actually there's a here. I'll show you this first. This is like an early version of the title screen music for D Blob 2. For context, this is down here. This is actually the start of the track, and John Guscott said it was just put at the end because they wanted to have the music just kind of start when you get to the menu, like just kind of get right into it, and then he put that there so that the loop sounded a little more unique if you waited for it to loop. So yeah, I'm just gonna put that there because it's at the start here, so you can hear what it sounds like with the real start. And so let me try this out. The title screen music of D Blob 2. It's supposed to sound like the title screen music of D Blob 1, just kind of in a rock style. And so it's true that John Guscott also said that the tempo is the same and the keys the same, and especially once we get here, you get the classic build-up. Not the classic, but just the same build-up in title screen of D Blob 1. And then it does that. But so there's this, and I showed this to John Guscott. He said that it's just kind of, he called it his version of the track, and it bears some resemblance to the original demo. Like you can see, it's longer. And that's because there's just one part. Well, here, listen to the start first. So it's kind of like dumbed down a little bit, and there's also this little thing. This little. That's not there, and I'll talk about that in a second. But so there's just this one weird part where it just kind of keeps going. I think it's right here. So listen to what happens here. So then it gets right into the build-up, but here it kind of repeats itself, and it just, instead of going to the build-up, it just keeps going, and then the build-up happens down here. So that's a little weird, but that is also what happens in the original demo of the track, which is super cool that I noticed that. So, and even still, like, it goes longer than the original demo. Like, the fade out is just way less. So that's weird too. But the original demo, it has that. I should have just. Here, that's what the original demo sounds like. It's kind of like it doesn't have the horns, just like this one don't have the horns. But so, I'll turn this down now. It does the same thing, it just keeps going instead of going in the building. Now, what I want to talk about is this thing. And so I've asked John Guscott about this a lot. Like, I mean, not a lot, but it's probably one of the questions I've asked the most. Is like, on the soundtrack version of the, on the digital, let me put it like this, on the digital soundtrack version of this, because they put out a download link to get the Blob 2 soundtrack completely free. Isn't that crazy? Because Blob 1 was only released on vinyl record and CD and specific places, so it wasn't really for sale. It was a promotional thing. But they just put this out for free. And so on this, it doesn't have the horn static, it doesn't have this thing. It just, like how this just goes right into it. But it's not at the end either, like how this would be. Normally it would be like you're listening to the track and then like, oh yeah, cool fade out, dude, you go. The trumpet, oh yeah, and then all of a sudden that's how it is. So but it doesn't happen here either. But I say specifically digital soundtrack version because for some reason, and I can't understand why, and John Guscott doesn't even know what I'm talking about, or hasn't understood what I'm talking about when I say this, but on the vinyl record, and I didn't make this rip, someone else did this, named Cobalt Cat. He bought the vinyl record. I actually own a Blob 2 too. But I didn't have something to rip it properly. But so, here we have horn stabs. Also, it's kind of weird. Like it has some pitch issues. I'm trying to fix it. Hold on. That sounds okay. Okay. So you have that. And that isn't necessarily new because again, it's there. But what is new is what comes after that. So yeah, it's from the Blob 2, then all of a sudden weird, right? Why is that? It doesn't show up in game. It doesn't show up on the digital soundtrack. It just shows up here and in the demo and in this thing. And it's just there. Oh. It's so weird. And so someday, I'm going to ask John, and I'm going to specifically outline what I'm talking about with the differences. Because I just say, like, there's this, what I've said to him in the past, and really gotten to talk to him about it in a little while because he's busy, and I understand that because you know, I have a life too. You have a life. So it'll happen in time. But the way I've described it before is at 15 seconds there's a horn riff, which is kind of where it is. Yeah. So that's just the weirdest thing. That all spawned from, that was just one of the last two unused tracks in the game, was that alternate mix of the title screen. That started this all. Finally, in Blob 2, there's one more unused piece of music. It's actually three pieces, but it's one piece of music. It has three intensities. And what it is well, I'll play it and I'll let you tell me if you recognize it. You can see the name, but it's a remix of the song that Britney Spears sang, Toxic. And I made sure to credit the proper people. That was Kathy Dennis, Henrik Johnback, Christian Carlson, Pontus Winberg. Because I'm pretty sure they're credited with actually creating the music. If I'm not wrong. I'm gonna get a copyright claim for this, by the way, but I don't care. I don't have AdSense. What did it say? Songwriters. And you have those people credited. They wrote the song. It's a good remix. I had never heard of Toxic before this, but I'm sure someone listening to this has heard it before. Technically, this isn't actually the high intensity. The high intensity actually has this topped with the actual instrumental and actual vocals. I did not include that in my download anywhere because it's kind of irrelevant. But there's also the low intensity, which is cool. The drums are different. I'm pretty sure that's the only difference. That isn't actually the only difference, because if you listen right here, this is the weirdest thing. It's just like a symbol. Here's the high intensity. Here's a low intensity. It's just a symbol there. But and then the the inked intensity is actually kind of interesting. It actually incorporates the singing into it, and it actually kind of makes sense. What part is left in? Listen.
Baby, can't you see I'm calling? It's dangerous.
So it's just she says it's dangerous. There's no escape. You're dangerous. So that's kind of stuff like that. Because that's kind of like what being inked is that you're spreading the ink, and the ink is bad. So that's just something interesting. And if what I played before didn't get me a claim, that's going to, but that's okay. Anyway, well, finally, what's the last thing I could talk about? It's actually more unused Blob 2 music, because there's the prototype. Yeah, of Blob 2 that got leaked. And so let's just start with this. Listen to this Tranquil demo. This actually showed up in an advertisement for Blob 2, which was crazy when I realized that's what it was. But there is some unique advertisement music for the game, which is really cool too. I should have mentioned that. But pretty much there's this little, it's called Inky Dysfunction. Not going to talk about the name anymore. And I'm pretty sure the part that was playing, it just started playing when I paused it. It's that. Like, you hear it. It's like you can hear some sound effects over it, and that's because I used a program to remove some stuff to just get the music. But pretty much, it was kind of weird. But I realized that I think there's still something a little bit different about it, but I haven't looked at it too much. But other than that, then there's demos of some other tracks. Probably the most interesting thing was this for the track Mungo. And so let me play the original track. It's one of the original tracks. So this is Mungo Medium. So this is one of the only tracks to not have an inked track. So there's just three, there's light, medium, and intense. Sorry. And that's because it's for a boss fight. For this thing called Monster. But it's called Mungo because everywhere in the files, stuff relating to the monster is called Mungo. And the file for the track is called Mungo. So I just called it Mungo. And it's this really like kind of fun track. It's really upbeat. I'll talk about it a little bit before I play it. You get a lot of the Brazilian percussion in it, and a lot of, what is it? It's just very bouncy and fun. Like, it's organ. It's comprised of really detailed percussion, and then bass, organ, and guitar. Bass guitar, organ, and like electric guitar. Just listen. I talked to John Guscott, as I've mentioned a bit. I've talked to John Guscott quite a bit about this stuff, and I asked him about this track, and this was actually one that he remembered quite a bit about, and I can't really go into specifics on what he said, but really what he said was that he didn't have a lot to work with, and this and the final boss music, he didn't have a ton of time to work on them because he made them way after all the music was done. And he didn't have the live session musicians to work with anymore. But so he said that he recorded the guitar himself on this, and the drums are like recorded. So basically, this just kind of came out of nothing. And so what I always wanted to hear was like, he shared some original demos, right? What was do original demos even exist for these? Because considering he made them way after the game was done, why would there even be a reason to make a demo when he's pretty much making it himself? And yes, there was, because that, okay, I'm sorry. That was, let me try it again. And apparently yes, because, no, wait, and apparently yes, because this is from the prototype. And there's literally nothing to it. Like, you can hear, if you listen closely, you can hear the bass. It's the same bass line. Like if I go back, if I go back and then grab the actual track, and this is just the medium intensity. The low intensity is just the percussion on its own, and the high intensity is different. So I'll show that next. But so if you listen, it's the same bass. But it's in a different key. Well, the bass is, it kind of follows the same pattern. So like the bass in the final track is da 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 da, and it's very simple. But in this, you can hear it's like da 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 da. You know what? I think what I just said is false. I think I was hearing some of the drums as part of the bass. That's not actually true. The bass is the same. And I didn't listen closely enough. Anyway, and you can see it's way shorter. It's kind of like, this part is like this. So pretty much if I were to recreate this just with what we have with the final track, what I would do is I would take it like this. Pretty sure. So you go like that. Actually, I think that's what it sounds more like. I should take the word. So you literally just do this, and then you get the demo with some stuff. The track is a little bit repetitive, so it's just like, it's kind of like this is what it already is, but there's still differences, and especially like that last one, the surf guitar, really going at it. And the edit is not really. Anyway. Then you have the final intensity of Mungo Intense, and it sounds way different. The drums have like nothing to it. It's a lot of cymbals, and it's very fast. The organ is really going at it. There isn't really much of a melody, but the end is really like the peak. Because you have this really high-pitched electric guitar going, and it's like, sounds like something really cool is happening, when in reality, you hear this music for like a minute in the game because the boss fight is so easy. And so when you think about it like that, it's like the length that the demos would have been acceptable because of how short the boss is. But we got 9 minutes of music because these are about 3 minutes long each. So I think it's good that we can appreciate this all, and we can appreciate this. So, the demo, I'll just start describing it right now. The demo is kind of this, well, it's the same as like the medium intensity demo, except at the very end, the bass like completely, I'm pretty sure it's just the drums sound very similar to this, and it's just drums and the bass, again, like the medium intensity demo. But, and I'm pretty sure it's in a different key too. But then it switches key again at the very end. It's just like this weird kind of surf rock thing that you hear a lot. Now you can already hear right now in the track, you can hear the electric guitar. And then it really starts going crazy. And you may have already noticed, but this is in stereo, despite it being from the game, and this was one of the few exceptions to the no stereo rule. Well, not to the mono rule. And it's pretty much, John Guscott said that it's because there weren't as many intensities. Every piece of music usually has 6 stems to it, but because there's 3 layers to the boss fight, they're like if you have 3 stereo tracks, that's 6 channels, so he's just able to make it stereo. So anyway, now that we went through that, let's listen to the demo. And you're gonna hear it's just like the other demo, but oh, the bass is actually very different. I'm pretty sure the bass is different. I'm so, like this. You see, I've been listening to Blob music for so long that I kind of stopped listening to it for a little bit, and in that time when these demos or the prototype came out with all this new music, I didn't take very much time to look. Like, I still looked at it, and I think you can still tell, like, I know a lot about this stuff, but it's just anyway. Here, listen to the bass. So here's. Like it feels like it feels like this is staying on one note, and the other one is like doing the da 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 da. Way quicker. It's like da da da. This just sounds like. But anyway, then and you also you can hear a little that's still happening. Oh, nice. Isn't that just weird? Like, the bass never sounds like that. I don't. Oh, yeah. It's just it never sounds like that. And anyway, that's the Blob. I like this music, and a little birdie told me that all the music might be getting released, including the in-game versions by THQ Nordic as a soundtrack release, like an album, not a game rip. But you didn't hear it from me. So anyway, I'm gonna put some links in the description of this video. And by some links, I mean one link, and that will be to the download of the soundtrack that I've made and worked on for several years. By several, I mean like 2. Because, I mean, I put it together in like a couple of months, I think, at first. But I've continued to maintain it and change things about it to make it better organization and stuff. Like, it was weird at first. Like in the past, every single piece of music had its own folder with the sound effects and color sounds in them, and it's like that worked, but I think it's better to just have a track list and then the stems and the sound effects in different folders. But you'll see what I mean. Just listen to music. I'll also, well, there's going to be that download link. I'll also put a link to a playlist I've made of uploads by my good friend Rings of Geonesis. I used to think it was Genesis, but that's not how Genesis is spelled. It's Geonesis, which is something from Star Wars. I am pretty sure. Anyway, listen to the Blob soundtrack. Now you know so much about it. You probably already knew so much about it if you're watching this video, but if you didn't, you do now.